Good evening, everyone. My name is Marlon Sanders, and this is New York State News reporting live on the Gibbons versus Ogden case. Previously, New York State law has given Robert R. Livingston and Robert Fulton a 20-year monopoly over navigations of waters between New York State jurisdiction. Aaron Ogden and other competitors have been trying to remove this monopoly, but Livingstone and Fulton have been selling land jurisdictions to other owners so they can operate their own steamboat. Thomas Gibbons, a steamboat owner who did business between New York and New Jersey under a federal coastal license, had formed a partnership with Ogden, which has recently dissolved after 3 years due to Gibbons operating his steamboat on the New York route belonging to Ogden. Ogden had filed suit against Gibbons in New York State Court, and Gibbons has received a permanent injunction from the court in New York. Currently, Gibbons has brought this case all the way to the state Supreme Court, where Josephine Williams is currently reporting live from outside the courtroom.
Thank you, Marlon. I'm here outside the Supreme Court House on March 12th, round 6 in 1824, where Justice Marshall is about to make his decision on whether state or federal government should have the right to regulate interstate commerce. Let's see how it's going inside.
Thank you, Justice. New York State law has rightfully given my client, Aaron Ogden, the right to operate his steamboats over Gibbons.
Thank you for Ogden's side. Now we'll be heading over to Gibbons' side with attorney Daniel Webster.
Your Honor, Congress should have exclusive national power to control interstate commerce according to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 of the Constitution. The Interstate Commerce Clause says that the federal government have exclusive right to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the states. The Supremacy Clause also says that the federal law has precedence over the state laws.
Objection! The states have the right to regulate its own trade.
Order, order! The court unanimously decided to side with Gibbons. The New York law is invalid as the Supremacy Clause in the Constitution gives the federal laws more power. Congress now has the power to regulate commerce between the states, and furthermore, commerce also includes navigation of the waterways. Shipping is also interstate commerce, so it can also be controlled by the federal government. Court dismissed.
The verdict is in, and it looks like Gibbons has won. Now let's go to Gibbons and Ogden and see how they feel about the Supreme Court's decision. So Ogden, how do you feel about the Supreme Court ruling that Congress has the right to regulate interstate commerce?
Nobody in their right mind should agree with this verdict. Federal state coasting laws should never take precedence over state laws. States should have more power in these affairs.
Do you believe that Gibbons' attorney, Daniel Webster, gave valid arguments supporting the idea that Congress should have exclusive national power over interstate commerce?
Daniel Webster's argument that Congress should have exclusive power is not just, and local authorities should be able to regulate trade within its own state. The only reason that Gibbons won is because the fact that the judge has a big bias favoring the federal government.
Okay, well Ogden, thank you for your time, and now we're going to move on to the Gibbons interview. Okay, well, welcome Gibbons. What inspired you to take your case to the Supreme Court?
Thank you for asking. The monopoly of trade for the past few years that was granted by the state's courts conflict with the federal laws. And in my opinion, the Commerce Clause was wrongfully interpreted, and now justice has been served.
So how do you feel about your victory today?
The victory was not only great for me, but also for the federal government and all the people that have wrongly been restrained from trading in New York. If the federal government did not have the power to control interstate commerce, the local regulatory policies would always be contradicting and confusing.
Well said. Thank you for your time, Gibbons. And now back to Marlon, who will explain the significance of the Supreme Court's decision.
Thank you, Josephine. We have just witnessed a huge victory for both Gibbons and the federal government, who now has the power to regulate interstate commerce. The federal government now has the power to pass laws that fall under the broad definition of commerce and will have more power to influence the national economy. Thank you for tuning in, and this is the New York State News reporting on the Gibbons versus Ogden case. We will be back with more news later.